A very good evening to one and all. On behalf of Avtar, I'm delighted to welcome you all to yet another engaging and insightful session. I'm Adira Premrajan, your host for this evening. Before we begin, here are some hygiene checks for a seamless virtual experience. Please close all other applications on your computer and log out from your organization's VPN to conserve internet bandwidth. Hundreds of women in India are looking to relaunch their careers after a break, be it after motherhood, elderly care, or other reasons. The ambition is there, but are organizations paving the path for intentionally bringing back second career women? So befittingly, the webinar titled Second Career Programs, Stepping Stone to Gender Inclusion will showcase industry best practices while implementing second career programs. It also aims to inspire and motivate many more organizations to embark and accelerate their inclusion journey. In the session today, we have Ms. Rekha Manula, India Talent Acquisition DEI Lead and APJ R&D Hiring Lead, talent evangelist who is passionate about finding, connecting, engaging, and hiring diverse and dynamic talent with right opportunities. Rekha is an ally and advocate for underrepresented groups and works towards building a platform for equitable and inclusive hiring. She is also the core member of HP DEI Council members, partnering to build a culture of belonging and empathy. Rekha is a mother of an adorable daughter and is someone who always keeps an optimist outlook by doing things which create value at individual, community, and society level. A warm welcome to you, Ms. Rekha. Our next speaker is Toba Mudassir. Toba Mudassir is an HR leader with over 15 years of diverse experience across HR advisory, functional strategy, performance management, talent management, learning and development, diversity and inclusion, and change management. She currently leads talent management, learning performance, management, and diversity and inclusion for Citigroup, South Asia, which is over 25,000 employees strong. Tuba is a leadership trainer and certified coach. She has a master's degree in business administration with a specialization in human resources and finance, and holds a strategic human resources advisory certification from Cornell ILR. Tuba is passionate about helping leaders harness the potential of their human capital, developing learning agility, and creating diverse and inclusive workplaces. She pursues volunteering opportunities in animal welfare. Welcome, Ms. Tuba. And finally, we have our moderator, Ms. Veena Mukund, Assistant Vice President, Client Services from Avtar. During the session, participants, please feel free to share your questions in the chat window for the panel to answer at the end of the discussion. Thank you. Over to you, Veena.
Thank you so much, Adira, for this beautiful introduction context setting. Once again, welcoming you all to this beautiful, interesting webinar titled Second Careers: A Stepping Stone to Gender Inclusion in Corporate India. It's my pleasure and privilege to have both Tuba and Rekha here to talk about the interesting second career programs they have at their respective organization. Before we start, I would like to, go back and talk about how Avtar as an organization working in the space of diversity, equity, and inclusion, creating inclusive workplaces, started this movement 1.5 decades back. Going back, my mind goes back to 2005, when companies had not started talking about formal returnship program or second career programs for women. At that time, our founder, President Dr. Soundarya Rajesh, had a meeting with one of the leaders at a banking, BFSI organization. And they were planning to hire in numbers. So she suggested, why not this talent pool of women who have taken a break for all the right reasons. We're talking about all the right reasons. We talk about this conundrum called MMM, that is the triple M, marriage, maternity, and lack of mobility. And the research shows that there are close to 70 lakh of women who are in a career break, who have taken break due to various reasons, who are keen on returning back to work. So that was the one project that we did for a banking organization where they hired women for their Middle East operations in 2005. That was a super hit. And thanks to the vision of our founder president, and from there on, that movement or that built momentum, and we were able to support or work with organizations like Citi, with HP and multiple other companies, and carving, or curating their second career programs. On this context, I mean, once again, very, very happy, to welcome Tuba and Rekha. Rekha Manola is the talent acquisition lead for Asia Pacific and Japan for HP Inc. And Tuba is a senior vice president, head learning performance management, diversity and inclusion for Citi South Asia. So if you're looking at, I mean, Rekha comes with a very solid talent acquisition background, and Tuba from the talent management learning background. I'm sure there'll be a lot of interesting perspectives both these leaders can share today, over the next 45 minutes, 1 hour. So welcoming both Tuba and Rekha. So I would like to understand from both of you as an opening remark, Rekha. So starting with you, Rekha, would you like to talk about the returnship program? So Avtar is, one proud partner of HP, who have supported you in your returnship program, Rekha, and you yourself is a very passionate, what you call champion or advocate of, helping women to get back to work. Could you talk a bit about your second career program, the Reboot program at HP? So what do you do? What is the model? If you could please throw some light. On to you, Rekha.
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much, Veena and Avtar, for the great introduction. It's absolutely a pleasure to be here and to share, a space for a conversation with Tuba and you on a very important, subject, which is about gender inclusion. So thank you so much for this opportunity again. Thank you so much for sharing the inspirational, story about Avtar. Avtar is one of our partner, and we are cherishing this relationship since long, and learning a lot from Avtar, on this journey of D&I and progressing towards doing something better for the organization and the society. So now talking about the second career program, Veena, you know very well that HP Inc. It is not D&I is not a new thing for us. It's from the history, and we are in this path since long. And though we are moving with the many steps, but we are in this since long. And for this also, we've been a lot of accolades. In fact, Avtar itself has been, HP has awarded by Avtar for one of the best place for working mother, and it's one of the best company in the inclusive index. If you see the mix of the diverse set of people and that drive our innovation, which is very crucial being a product organization, it's a great mix. We say it's a great mix. We are towards this journey. But when we internalize it and done analysis at a very base level, different level, we realize that there is a problem statement. When we go by the early career, specifically on the woman, on the gender aspect, it's a good mix. We don't need to worry about it, and we are doing fantastic there. But when we move to the ladder of the mid-level to the senior level, there is a leakage. We see the percentage suddenly fall into half. And then when we see in the leadership level, we left with very minimal opportunities, and that is a problem statement for us. And then this concept of came into picture, what is that, the problem statement, and how it is in sync with the industry. So that various studies are done by Avtar as well, and there are various other organizations, be it McKinsey or Deloitte, or there are a lot of other surveys which are done. So which talks about this leakage at the mid-level, when if you talk about engineering sector being into engineering, there are 40 to 45% engineering graduate female comes from the colleges, but suddenly when they come into the entry level, it becomes 30 to 35%. But when we move to mid-level, it becomes hardly 15 to 17%. So where are these talented workforce going? They are just within 5 to 7 years, they are just aborting their career. So that is something syncing with HP's problem as well on certain sector, be it women in tech or be it women in sales. So that was something syncing. And when we done the analysis from both external and internal, we analyzed that this is the problem. Now, what is the solution, right? So you're not going to address it by just lateral hiring because the pool itself is not available in the market. So where are we going to go? Then there comes a picture, organization which are driving diversity like Avtar, and there are many more, which in collaboration with HP, they make us realize that there is a talented pool in the market, right? Which is waiting for the opportunity to integrate back to the work. So when we thought of that, we thought, yes, this is something which can be a valuable tool for the organization, and why not to go for it? And when we did the first, batch, we were not sure how it's going to work for us because it was very new. But when we did it, we realized that it is one of the pool we were absolutely missing, which can be, great asset for the organization and can help to correct the gender inclusion, the balancing of the mix of the gender at mid-level and the senior levels. So that's how the story of the second career for HP begins with us.
Rekha, your passion is quite evident in the way that you're expressing, the reboot program. And the very pertinent point that you made is the problem versus solution. There is a problem, how can you kind of bridge that gap? And there is this talent pool available. How can you utilize the talent pool? So a very, very, pertinent, point that you made, Rekha. Moving on to Tuba, still there is diversity between, both Rekha and Tuba. While Rekha brings with her a rich experience of talent acquisition, Tuba, you head the learning and the performance management for an organization like Citi South Asia. But again, I would like to, understand from you also. Before, the start of the webinar, I was having a discussion with my colleague Shweta and Murugeshwari, who is anchoring, the returnship program for Citi, working for the Citi assignments, the returnship program. So what is the model? So she was talking about, the global programs that you have at global level programs and India level programs, Tuba. So how is it different? Is it the same model that you follow for global as well as India? Tuba, if you could please throw some light.
Certainly, Veena, and thank you very much for having me here. It is indeed a pleasure to join you as well as the entire team here and Rekha for this discussion. What I will say, of course, is that there is potentially no better partner than Avtar to be hosting this kind of discussion, because you have been pioneers of the second career wave, if you can call it that, for women in India. And there has been a massive amount of work that you have done in order to kind of bring women back into the workforce, which is indeed very inspiring. So, at the outset, what I want to say before I talk a bit more specifically about this aspect that you raised about the program we have at Citi, the reason why we feel passionately about getting women back into the workforce is for a couple of reasons. One is, of course, when you look at some of the demographic in India, and Rekha did allude to this, we are one of the only countries in the world where the education rate is inversely correlated with the workforce participation, which means that it is so intensely ironic that you have women who are actually going out, getting educated, receiving degrees, but choosing not to participate in the workforce. So our urban women workforce participation rate, as it is sub 20%, and which is incredibly low. Now you add to it this concept of the leaking pipeline that Rekha alluded to as well, to say that of that small sliver of women who actually choose to work, a lot of them start to attrite when they hit, the life stages or various types of issues. So if you think about it, it is actually it's a very concerning issue, right? And it's a fairly big problem, because as it is women, getting them educated, once they get into the education, after that, translating into the workforce, once they translate, they leave. And so it's almost tragic, if you ask us, right, to say that what is it that we can do, to keep women in the workforce, right, so that they don't leave. But the reality also is that many of them do take breaks, which is also perfectly acceptable. So how is it that you bring them back? And so in that sense, is the issue the same globally? Well, in some ways it is, but there are a lot of unique aspects to India, which are very socio-cultural. And, in the manner in which we run our program, we are very mindful of that difference. Secondly, the reason why we feel it's also very, very important to bring these women back into the workforce is, if you ask any woman who's actually worked and enjoyed the pleasure of, their own accomplishments at work, financial freedom that they've experienced, a lot of them really miss it, right? And they do really want that bridge back into the workplace. So they've tasted that, pleasure, the joy of being able to be, accomplished, to work on their own, to have financial independence, and not to say that the things that they may do outside of work don't lead to these. But having said that, a lot of women I have spoken to, have heard from, on groups that you see today, are all talking about the fact that how they miss potentially being able to come back into the workforce. And so it is incredibly important, just as corporates in India, for us to be able to make these bridges back for them when they want to come back, right? Or really to inspire them to come back, to say, look, that the bridge is there, we'll help you walk that journey in order to be able to get back into the workforce. And finally, and the third reason why we feel this is so necessary and so important is because while people are on career breaks of any kind, whether it is for getting married, whether it's for maternity, whether it is to travel the world or to pursue a passion or for elder care, whatever the case might be, we genuinely believe that people get very, very important life skills to this process. And so to say that just because somebody's on a career break doesn't mean they're not learning, I think is absolutely incorrect. So for me, when I look at, for example, my journey, having taken obviously my maternity breaks for both my children and now, parenting them, some of my most intense learnings in life are coming from that experience, right? And that makes me very different at work. It makes me sometimes far more efficient. It makes me more well-rounded. And so we really genuinely believe that having a multidimensional life leads to people really being more multidimensional and more diverse in the way they come to work. And so just to say that somebody's on a career break and they shouldn't be at work, or they've lost out in some way, or they've missed out, or they're not updated, we feel is really not the right way to look at it. And so with these underpinnings is really the way we have kind of developed our program. And maybe, I'll sort of come back to the specifics of the program later, Veena. I'll be happy to talk a bit more about that. But suffice it to say that, is it the same as the program globally? It's not. In fact, it's actually a very unique India program. Globally, we do have a lot of focus on saying, how do you get women back? There are a lot of internship programs that exist in City globally. But we've tried internship in India, and our experience is actually we're better off doing full-time returning programs, right? So today we hire, over 100, 150 women every year with career breaks. Anybody over a 6-month career break qualifies, and we hire them back into the workforce. And year on year, we've done this kind of number, right? So we now have almost like a pool of over 250, 300 women who have come through this career break route. And, we then have done a bit of a program for them. The one other thing that I will say in the manner in which our program has developed, right? It has evolved over the years. It wasn't always the same. And where we started was the talent acquisition piece, right? So what, for example, Rekha does is incredibly important, is to get the people in. And while we did that, we did, however, realize that focusing only on the hiring was not enough. And the fact that once they do come in, these women do need separate support, right? They do need separate infrastructure, mechanisms, support systems in the organization. And so over the years, we've evolved our program to be a really well-developed hiring effort program, but equally a development effort program where people go through a 12-month journey of a variety of type of support, which, I can talk about later through the journey. And, when we talked to the women who've been through this, we start to see the difference, in fact, where they say that, yes, this support is important and we value it. So that's the difference between how we run this globally versus the way it manifests in India.
Incredible, in fact, Tuba. I mean, you spoke about your own story, and the percentage that you quoted in urban India, 20%, is abysmally low. That's where, companies like Citi and HP and multiple other organizations that Avtar works with can create a difference. I mean, so I will talk about another interesting aspect that, all of us as an organization, leaders can think about. But before coming to that question, I would like to ask you, Rekha. So as a part of Reboot, I mean, I think, you started the pilot batch in 2020, Rekha. Is it 2020 or 2019, Rekha?
So we started in 2019 for the first batch, which is a very smaller group. But as Tuba has highlighted, that it is again a journey. We were not great at that time, but as we are moving step on step in the next batch, we are improving what is that we couldn't do well, that we should correct on, that we are doing in the next batch. So in Women in Tech, we have started in 2020.
Okay. And how do you go about it, Riga? Just wanted to understand. I'm sure the audience also would love to hear from you on it. So how do you identify those skills that, yes, this is the set of, job descriptions or roles that we can definitely have women in a career break? Many a times when we talk to, clients like HP or a city for that matter, any companies, one thing that we request them is, please do identify those roles that you think that you will get women after a career break, rather than a niche role. For example, you touched upon women in sales, Rega. So that is something still a problem for many companies to cater to. When you are talking about sales, traveling and all, there is this workforce, of course there is this pool, but how can we ensure that after a break they are coming to a sales role? So we'll come back to that, Rekha. So of course you identify those roles first of all. You, with the help of companies like Avtar, you understand the market intelligence and you go about hiring them. So that's the model you follow, Rekha, isn't it? I mean, that's how you
Yeah.
go about, hiring women, right? The roles that is, available in the market, right, Rekha?
Yes, absolutely, Veena. In fact, Tuba, I was listening to Tuba. She was touching certain point on, about the gap which is widening, and what is that we can do here. It is the gap they have in their career. We shouldn't consider it as a hindrance, right? There are a lot of life skills they learn during that gap that could be of any of the reason. So in HP, what we do is like, because it's not just about hiring them and bringing back them to the corporate, but it's more about sustain, how they can sustain in this environment, how they can grow along, how can they, because once they are back, and if they are not able to success, I guess then the demotivation they will have, they might be never able to apply again. Maybe they may enter into that phase. So we never wanted this to happen. So that's why it was very, very important. We were very conscious about this approach, that how we're going to do in such a way that we can do a right fitment for them. Okay, so the important thing was just to understand first what all role we have here, and what is that. If they will have as a fundamental skill, we can groom them to the next level where HP, look for those skills, right? Identifying those areas for the prerequisite for us. Then, aligning with the, Avtar, we have aligned with Avtar. We didn't do a market search, whether the kind of jobs we do in HP, because we want them to succeed. We don't want them to surrender in just 1 to 2 years. We want them to grow to the ladder of their career. For that, they will have to they will have to come to the speed. So the basic has to be there. So we did a market search along with you and along with other organization, understanding that pool availability in the market. When we saw that that pool is available, so we sync it with the requirement. Okay, that was the first step, identifying those jobs which are very, very, linked with the talent available in the market, because we can't do other way, right? For lateral hiring, what we do, we see the job description and we say, let's bring this person and fit here. No, we don't want to do that. See the person and where it fits. That is more important for us to do, right? And the second stage is like, when you go to, evaluation process, without, you can't just go by the interview process that we do for normal lateral hiring. You can't just, go into asking the technical question, because they are the people who have a gap of 2 to 3 years or 5 to 6 years. So we have a very structured interview model there, which we followed, and that's really helped us to, about the right fit for the requirement. We did a panel interview where we have evaluated them just on the fundamental skills which are required, and the learnability, the growth mindset, the potential down the line 6 months to 1 year, when we train them, when we upskill them, where they're going to fit in the HP's hierarchy, or where they're going to fit in the HP's job description, area. So that intentional, interview process was done. And then the third stage was the right fitment. What we did is like, irrespective, they are, they have, like, for example, if somebody is of 10 years of experience and have a gap of 5 years. So it's not that, the person should be fitted at the entry level because they have a gap of 5 years and they have to start their journey. No, what we did is like, we did a right fitment. We have placed them, be it, a salary or be it a level, we have fitted them as per their potential. Down the line, what potential they will be. So not only the experience they had in the past, but we have counted their experience, which was a gap year. Because during this year also they have learned a lot of skills, which are very, very important when you perform a job. That always help. That was the second thing, which was a very crucial aspect for us to follow. And the third thing was thinking about them once they'll be part of the organization, how they can upskill themselves, bringing a structure model there for their upskilling, reskilling, and then grooming them on other areas on the soft skill part. So we can talk about that more, Veena. So this is all about the hiring aspect.
Dear audience, that is Rekha talking about their successful reboot program for all of us. So thank you so much, Rekha, for sharing your thoughts. And moving to you, Tuba, I would like to ask you a different question from the retention angle. The various learning opportunities, I'm sure you have a lot to share with us, the various learning avenues and opportunities at City South Asia. If you could please talk from the returnship, for the women who have taken a break and come back. So I would like to know about what are the programs that you have anchored at an org level, ongoing programs. Many companies talk about mentors, mentees, shadowing program, buddy system. I'm sure this is a combination of multiple programs at City, but the audience also would like to know about it, Tuba. On to you.
Happy to share that, Veena.
Thank you.
So, what we really do is put our return to work hires, as we call them at City, through a 12-month journey. And what that journey really entails is exactly like you mentioned, a variety of interventions that helps them get better acclimatized, better settled into the organization. And so really, if you are a returnee at City, at the time of hiring itself, you're given this really nice document that tells you what you can expect in the next 12 months, in addition, of course, to any job-related, specific technical functional training that the person goes through. Now, what this journey really entails is, as they come on board, the first and most important thing really is to acclimatize them well and make them feel comfortable in the organization. And so what we have done is, in all of our key locations, we have developed this network of what we call return to work champions. These return to work champions are really, like you may say, buddy or mentor, are really people who are passionate about helping these women integrate back into the workforce. And some of them are actually people who've taken career breaks and returned themselves as well. So what we do is that we introduce these women who get hired to the respective return to work champions, which is closest in their proximity, potentially in their location. Because now with people being back in office, there's also the additional benefit of people being able to meet one another. And these champions are actually equipped with a whole set of tools and resources as to how is it that you support these people, right? So helping them understand how to navigate the organization, how to go about building your network, how to get clarity from your manager about how to get reintegrated, a variety of lived experiences that they can discuss on a very ongoing basis. So we recommend that the champion does at least a quarterly catch up with, the people that they get assigned to in their respective location. And this is an ongoing discussion. So the returnee hires are also free to kind of keep going back to the champions, build a connect and a relationship. And we've gotten some very positive feedback, both from the participants as well as the champions on this effort. So that's one of the things that we do. The second is, what we've also done is built out a learning journey, which really means that what are the types of things that the women who are coming back into the workforce will need to be equipped with. The first is their functional technical expertise, depending upon the kind of job that they're coming in. And that's something where we hold the manager responsible to take a decision as to, what is it, which skills do you feel that the person needs to kind of come up the curve on, be refreshed on, etc. And we have a very vast plethora of internal training programs as well as external certifications that run, where we encourage them to funnel these women into. The second is a common journey where we are saying that, look, what are the typical types of things that people face when they return to work? And this we do by level also because, somebody who's had 10 years or 12 years of experience in the past versus somebody who's had a 2-year experience, that journey can be quite different. So we split it out here. And what we've done is really identified the right kind of training programs for these women. And these training programs could be, for example, just personal effectiveness. How do you, around technology, how am I using meetings correctly? How am I making myself more effective? Other areas like branding oneself within the organization, networking, so we've built a variety of topics and we run exclusive batches of these programs for our return to work hires. So what happens is we tell them that over the span of the year, there are at least 3 modules of programs that you need to complete. But however, the sort of bouquet of programs is much wider, right? So we give them at least 6 to 8 really nice, well-curated programs. And the partners, some of them we run internally, but the partners who run the external programs for us as well, we've done a lot of conversation with them to say, how do you tailor make this content to what the issues and the challenges
actually
that
off
people
the
are
shelf
facing?
programs, right?
Exactly.
To customize
Exactly.
programs. Yes.
Absolutely. And even, things like branding yourself, confidence, personal effectiveness, this does need to be customized. The dialogue needs to be customized. So we have some really good partners who we work with externally who curate and, customize this for us, and some of it we run internally. So that's the second thing that we do.
Okay.
The third thing what we do is called coffee circles. Coffee circles are really just integration, networking sessions where we have our leaders, come back and do these small group meetings with these people. Just again, for them to feel engaged, for them to build their networks in the organization, ask questions, surface issues or challenges. So this is also something that's very ongoing, and typically one coffee circle a quarter is what we host for every individual in their various locations. And really it's meant to be like brown bag kind of conversations where you're talking about your issues, how you need help, what's working well equally. And leaders get a sense of how, capable, how committed, how, well positioned these women are. So it's a nice two-way process. And I think our leaders learn as much as these women do, when they walk out of these conversations. So the coffee circles is, the third kind of thing that we do. And then finally, there are conversations, skip level conversations with managers at the next level to say, are you taking an ongoing view around the development? So the HR partner of the individual as well as the, unit head get engaged on a regular basis to say, are they comfortable? Do they need anything additionally? What more training can we do? Are we concerned about their retention? Because that's also a topic that, is of interest to us to say, are you seeing any red flags? Is there something we need to do differently for these women? So that's the manner in which we do this. The one thing we are very, mindful of is we do not want to overwhelm people with just too much stuff. And so some of this is also, it's not, a lot of it is not mandatory, right? It is up to these women, these individuals to come in and experience what they would like to pick. Because we recognize that sometimes you may say, no, I just want to focus on my job because I'm learning the ropes on a new role, or I don't want to be spending time attending some of these and I have personal priorities to balance. And so it is a very participatory process where the individuals get a choice to decide, this is what I would like to do, or these are the programs that I would like to attend. However, like I said, we do have some minimum requirements to say at least one connect with your champion, at least three, programs over the course of the 12 months, etc. So that's the manner in which we've kind of curated this 12-month journey. And we are receiving some incredibly positive feedback, both from these people who we've hired, but more importantly from the managers as well, to say, look, I think they're settling in very nicely, they're getting well integrated, they're learning through the process, and most importantly, they're enjoying what they do. So that for us is the most important benchmark of, do they stay with City, and obviously do they enjoy that process? I think Veena,
Audience got more from the learning head of City. Can you hear me, Tuba?
Now we can, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing the perspective of bouquet of services. I mean, Tuba, I was just totally into it, hearing to the various opportunities that the returnee women have, so thank you so much for sharing, Tuba. Even I would like to talk about, few interventions that we.
I guess the network is unstable.
Veena, you're not audible.
So you're breaking, Veena. We are unable to hear you.
Program is career pathing sessions for women at their career stages.
Some network issue.
Veena, you were not audible.
Is it clear? Can you hear me, Tuba? Rekha?
Now. But we couldn't hear you so far.
Okay.
Give me a minute. Yes. A minute.
So as Veena is away, Tuba, thank you so much for sharing. I guess I could learn a lot of things that City is following. I really love the concept of, having the champions, reboot champions at various workplaces who can be their buddies for any kind of, if not something related to work, but unofficially just discussing the things which they are facing as a challenge, or maybe, they're getting adjusted to the new environment. I guess that is quite a nice initiative which City has been doing. I guess that's a good one. And the coffee thing, in HP, we do this chart network, we've done with the, where we have invited all the leaders along with these returnee women, and just having a candid conversation during the chart session, knowing them well, how they are adjusting, is there any issues they are facing. So we also have been doing this. So this is quite a kind of nice networking thing, which help people to adjust a bit in a better way, rather than just in the professional front. Yeah. So thank you for sharing that, I guess.
Likewise, Rekha, that's really nice to hear. And I would agree that this kind of support system is really helpful for the women.
So am I audible now, Tuba, Rekha? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry for that, technical glitch, Tuba and Rekha. So Tuba, thank you so much for sharing those, training journey, that you have a bouquet of services that you offer to, women at City. So I would like to, I'm so tempted to talk about a few programs that we run at Avtar, partnering with companies like yours. One such program is called the Intentional Career Pathing. I'm sure Umashankar might have spoken to you about this. This is an intervention that, a 3.5 months intervention for the women who are in their mid-career stages. Yeah. So not necessarily only for women who have come back to work after a break, who are in their mid-career stages, who hold a string of jobs, personal and professional. How can they maneuver, navigate, through their career trajectory and take up more roles within the organization? So this is journey consisting of 9 modules, which talks about various aspects like, understanding your own identity, talking about the art of networking, how to negotiate for a win-win, the importance of trust and respect, the importance of making good decisions at workplace, so on and so forth. So this is one program that we, in fact, I would like to quote Dr. Soundarya Rajesh again here. In 2015, we did a research on the career trajectories of Indian men and women. This is how we started this program called the Intentional Career Pathing. While we are talking to Tuba and Rekha, we are running multiple batches of the ICP, or the Intentional Career Pathing, for women who are in their mid-career stages for various organizations, Tuba and Rekha. So that is something we do. Apart from that, Tuba, you touched upon, sensitizing the hiring managers, and Rekha, you also spoke about it. So again, at an org level, we work with companies, we work with partners like yours, or clients like yours, and sensitizing hiring managers and the talent acquisition team while you are hiring women in a career break. What are the do's and don'ts? If you're expecting a JD with, a complete match of JD, that may not be possible. So you should be lenient. You should be sensitive about certain things that, hey, she's coming back after a career break. So this is something that we do for organizations. Likewise, the sponsorship programs for women, high potential women at organization, the formal sponsor protege program, so on and so forth, Tuba and Rekha. So taking cue from the various training initiatives you have at City, Tuba, I thought I was tempted to talk about it, Tuba. So coming back to another question, I would like to ask both of you. Tuba, I'll start from you. So now, we are living in a post-pandemic era, right? There was a pre-pandemic era where, there wasn't anything like, the hybrid mode of working or work from home, or that, for that matter, various flavors of flexible working was existent. Tuba. Now that, coming pandemic, everyone started working from home. Now the new normal is hybrid mode of working or remote working or work from home. So have you seen any change in the mindset of women, Tuba, when they are attending interviews? I mean, women who have taken a break and coming back. Yes, when XYZ company is offering me a remote working or a work from home, why are you not giving me a complete work from home? Have you come up with such questions from prospective returning women at City, Tuba? I would like to understand from you.
It's a good question, Veena, and it's very topical. I think every organization today is talking about their best mode of work. Is it hybrid, and a lot of organizations, as are landing on hybrid potentially being, the most favorable way of bringing people back into the workforce. So, and into the offices actually. So what I would say is, yes, I think candidates are, the good part is, and I think it puts a little bit of pressure on the system, that candidates are being more demanding about their need for flexibility. So, let's be realistic. In India, to ask for flexibility at the outset was very hard. Because if I'm entering with a position to say, oh, what's the flexibility you're giving me? You already start to get looked down upon to say, oh, that's your priority. Equally for women or men who are at work and then want to move to a mode where they're more flexible, there is the hesitation, and there has been, despite of the fact that a lot of organizations have had alternate work strategies in place already, to say this is not a mainstream thing, I'm a bit of an exception. And I'll say that to you as somebody who's worked quite extensively remotely, even prior to COVID, right? And City was incredibly supportive because of my personal needs to allow me to work, remotely, regardless of the fact that before COVID hit and became the norm for everybody. So not everybody will have the ability to make that demand. And obviously not always is there an ability to make an exception from the organization side. So the positive trend that I will say is that people have become more demanding, and millennials included. It's not just about, oh, I have a young child at home or I have an elder at home that I need to take care of. No, I think just as a way of working, this is a more effective way for me to work. And so what's the flexibility that's on offer? So the good part is this pressure is there in the system now from candidates, from existing employees, and that's forcing us to change our mindsets. Because as you know, it could have been very easy for everybody to go back to the default mode to say, 5 days a week, everybody comes back into the office because now you don't have a COVID constraint, right? It's very easy to do that. So that's one. So yes, candidates are asking the question a lot more confidently right at the outset, and I think it's a good thing. The second change that I'm starting to see is that people are actually not necessarily asking for full remote working. A lot of people are quite happy to say, what degree of flexibility do I have? Because people do miss and enjoy that social experience of coming to work. So the vast majority of candidates, including women, will say that, oh, how often can I come in? If you have a 3+2 model, 2 days, can I come into office? Or how many times a week are you expecting me to be there? Because people do miss the camaraderie and the ability to kind of come together and learn from one another, just step out of the house. Also, I'll say that again, from my own experience, working frankly from home is a bit harder than actually stepping into office and working there, because, you can switch off. You're physically there in the office, whereas most people face so many multiple demands when you're working from home. The one thing that we do need to do better in India is the childcare infrastructure, which has gotten disintegrated a little bit over this time frame. Because this is a question women are asking us again to say, if you want us to come in back into the office 3 days a week, what's the infrastructure that's available from a childcare perspective, right? And City, for example, has a really nice tie-up with creches and preschools like Clay, etc., where we make that available to our women employees. So yes, that there is change in candidate behavior. There is also change in organizational behavior equally. And we are realizing that obviously, working from home tends to be effective in many ways if you have a good mix of people coming in and going. The one additional thing that I will say, which is, I think, a very progressive change in India for those of us who have gotten impacted by it, is the SEZ norms that have gotten changed by the government of India. There was a lot of conversation to say many organizations like ours that have offices in SEZs, how do we deal with this? Because there was an expectation that we bring everybody back, into work. But very recently, the government has released several new progressive measures and notifications, which are allowing organizations to let over half of the organization, for example, at any point in time work remotely, even if you're in an SEZ. So frankly, it takes many ecosystems to come together. It's not just the candidate, just the organization, the external environment. But I think all put together, we're starting to see a really nice narrative about increased flexibility in the workplace.
That is, if given a choice, 3 choices, Tuba, that is complete work from home, complete work from office, and hybrid working, what is your first preference and second preference?
Hybrid, definitely. Yes. And given my life stage with young children, the second would be fully remote. But I recognize this life stage link as well. When, people who have older kids probably are not as keen to work fully remotely from home. That's a good pick, Tuba. That's a good pick. Rekha, now we would like to know the HP story.
Yeah. I guess Tuba has beautifully covered a lot of aspect of it, that, it's not only about working mother or people who are taking care of elderly or at mid-age, but it's more about the generation now. Different generation want their own comfort. They want to do their own work with a lot of flexibility, and they want, they don't want to structure their work around the life. However, it's a vice versa. They want to structure their work around their life rather than structuring their life around work. So they want to go with that where they have a choice. Whenever I want to come to office, want to network, collaborate, I should come. Or if I'm flexible, I'm comfortable. I'm in that stage where I need to be at home for certain reason. If I'm getting that flexibility, I'll be happy. And I guess pandemic has given an opportunity to just bring a little bit evaluate, if this the change in the work style. Earlier there was certain mindset, maybe HP or city, there are various organizations who are very comfortable with work from home and having the flexibility, but there were a lot of organizations who was very rigid about working from office. They don't have that flexibilities where women tend to leave their job because of this reason as well. That is one of again a biggest reason for leaving the job. But this pandemic has taught us that it can be done. It's not something which is you are not able to do if you are working from home. If you have that culture of trusting each other, if you have that bonding, that collaboration, that relationship, I guess work can be done from anywhere. So that's how the HP model is also there. And people love to come to office. I don't think they want to be in all together working from home. They want to come and they want to connect, have a kind of chai session with the leaders, with the colleagues. That is again also very, very important, not only on the physical aspect or professional aspect, but also on the mental health aspect as well. So I guess hybrid is something which is in, and it's a way to work going forward, I feel.
So you are also in for hybrid mode of working, right, Rekha?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Super. Thank you so much for sharing your perspectives, Tuba and Rekha. Now, slightly moving on, Rekha, Tuba, you touched upon, the urban, only 20% of the workforce from urban. Let us move towards the, rural part of India, that is the tier 2, tier 3 cities. So the other day, my colleague Karthik, who heads the diversity, equity and inclusion at Avtar, and I were having a conversation with an automobile company, and the client was talking about something which is quite striking. She was talking that women, in spite of being an engineer, in spite of, spending, so much of hard work and money in getting an engineering degree, the first instance, they get an opportunity to, resign, they will resign. So what is the reason? Parental pressure? An alliance, a marriage proposal coming their way, maternity, motherhood, but there is no looking back. They will resign. So my question to you, Tuba, anyone can answer about it. So what are the initiatives, at City as well as HP, that you would like to talk about? Were you deliberately try and hire qualified women professionals, both working and not working, but more importance, lineage towards women in a career break, to hire from tier 2 and tier 3 places also? Now that, we have experienced the various flavors of flexible working, like hybrid and remote work from home and all. So have you tried this at City and HP? I think, I'm sure there are a lot of opportunities, and there is this talent pool available in tier 2 and tier 3 cities also. What is your take on it, Tuba and Rekha? Anyone can answer. Yeah.
Okay, I'll probably take a stab at it and then request Rekha for her views as well. Look, there are two aspects. One is the fact that you said, why is it that they really go? And none of us potentially have a very good answer to this question. And there's no one right answer. But the fact is that the social and cultural realities that prevail, even today in this country, are challenging. And I was having a conversation a few months ago with Dr. Saundata Rajesh on this topic, right? And where we were talking about the fact that even today, the kinds of pulls and pushes and pressures that women experience are tremendous, given the fact that, getting an education now is okay, it's sort of a given, but yeah, working is optional, right? And that is where the ecosystem sort of pulls you back sometimes to say, well, for example, if you don't have a financial necessity, why would you choose to work, right? Or if you have a financial necessity, why are you doing work which is so intense? Why do you want to do a sales job? Why do you want to do something that makes you travel? So it is, I think, at both ends, the women themselves who sometimes may hold themselves back, as well as the ecosystem and the environment, which is yet, I think, a fairly big distance to go. And this is something which is a bit unique in some ways to certain parts of the world. I wouldn't say it's isolated to India, but more so in certain parts of the world like ours. And so when we talk to global stakeholders sometimes, right, this is one of the aspects that surprises or puzzles them, because when I look at some of the metrics in Asia, in some of our other countries, you look at Malaysia, you look at Vietnam, you look at Taiwan, in all these countries, city employs more women than men, by the way. So our gender ratio is in fact plus 50%, over 50% for women. So there is always this question saying, why is India struggling, or why are the numbers in general slow in India? So you cannot wish away or do away with, the whole socio-economic, cultural landscape. And I think as corporates, it is all our collective responsibility to try and shift that narrative, to make the change, right? To empower. I remember, when during COVID, we curated a program, in fact, with Avtar, to say that when women suddenly started working from home, to say, how can partners step up and share equal responsibility at home, right? And we opened that program up to partners, right, of the women who used to work for us, and equally to our male employees, to say, look, don't just expect that your wife will take care of everything, for example, at home. So what are the steps that we can take to change the mindset, I think, is one very important aspect that may sometimes get underlooked. And it is important for us to keep pushing the needle on that one. I want to, in fact, mention a very interesting movie on this. It's an old movie. It's a 1970s Satyajit Ray movie called Mahanagar. And for those of you who may not have seen it, I would highly recommend. It shows very beautifully the journey that the lady makes, but equally the family makes along with her and her husband, in terms of moving from not working to getting to a point where she's actually, engaged and working outside the house. So it is a journey. It is a long process. I think all of us have to contribute to that. To your second point around the contribution of us, organizations like ours, to hire from tier 2, tier 3 cities, very much so. So I think, in our hiring strategy, in the efforts that we make, it is so important to say that it does not matter where you come from, right? Now, what happens is, obviously, organizations like ours, you are in some ways restricted by your presence. So if our offices are in Mumbai, Pune, Chennai, Bangalore, then that's where we can hire you. But we see a lot of people starting to come to us from tier 2, tier 3 cities. So all our hiring efforts, our campus efforts, our outreach is to people across tier 2, tier 3 as well, because we feel that that's a great talent pool. They're motivated, they're willing to come into the workforce, etc. So by way of our hiring effort, I think by all means, it cuts across, and there is lots of opportunity. I think potentially more interest from tier 2, tier 3 cities for people to come, on board. And I think, for example, business schools see a similar trend. To say, if you look at the average participant in a business school program, they are not necessarily only from your metros, right? There are a lot of people from tier 2, 3 cities. So that's a conduit for us, that when we would hire from a B school, a lot of the people you're actually hiring are coming from tier 2, tier 3, and not necessarily,
Yes.
Or any other campus, that we may be going to. We go to campuses across the country. But yes, there is obviously a little bit of the constraint to say, if you don't have an office in a tier 3 city, for example, you can't. But until we did have a fairly large retail network in places like, Akola, Nanded, Jalandhar, across, we reached out and hired a lot of local talent, right? Our retail bank, because as you know, microfinance requirements do require you to have branches in underbanked locations as well. So Citi has run for over 100 years branches in many of these locations. And we would always hire local talent, from whichever part of the country. So we have a lot going as India Inc. for us to tap into tier 2, tier 3 talent. Tier 2, tier 3 talent coming from cities, I think they are top tier, by the way, in terms of their capability. So let's be correct that there. But reaching out to them, involving them in the narrative is important. But I think it goes back to changing the social and cultural ecosystem most importantly.
As it says, the soul of India lies in villages, right, Tuba? I mean, absolutely. Rekha, your thoughts on the same. Tier 2 and Tier 3. HP being a technology major, any, specific initiatives, efforts that you would like to do, already doing at an org level, Rekha, would like to hear from.
Yeah, sure, Veena. So Veena, as Tuba was also highlighting that, because the caregiving thing is more aligned with the woman in our culture, and the way we have an upbringing, it's not only about how other people force us or because of others we have to do it. It is our upbringing sometimes, doesn't allow us to think beyond then surrendering and having focus on the family or maybe elderly or maybe child care and all. So, I guess with the pandemic, one is that the window has opened to these cities. It is not confined only to metro, but considering that talent pool also and giving them that flexibility and then allowing them to work from wherever they want to work and whenever they want to work. is something allowing us to reach to that pool, and they are also getting the opportunities to get an opportunity with organization like HP or any other organization at metro cities. One aspect is this, and the other is like reaching out through the campuses. It's not at all restricted to the, especially for HP, we prefer to go to tier 2 and tier 3 city, because talent is not confined to metros only, right? Talent is everywhere. It's just that you have to reach to them. So I guess HP is doing a great work in terms of reaching to campuses in various cities and giving them opportunity, and then hiring them equally, at technology level or any other profile in HP. So that is second aspect. And the third thing is that, one thing that compel the women to leave, because HP is doing a lot of such programs so that they are not they don't reach to that stage where they have to about their career. So we have a lot of such program, like for example Matrikas is there, which is all built for such mother who are entering into a maternity phase, and they have that thoughts, maybe I have to quit my career, but we are intervening in that point in time when that thought is coming in their mind, and asking them what is that triggering point which is going around their mind, which is which is allowing them to take that decision, and then correcting that at our best way. And which Tuba has also highlighted, it is not only about reaching to women, it's more about including our men employees as well, and equally sensitizing them towards this thing, which is unavoidable in our culture, that these gaps, this person has to go for elderly care or maybe relocation aspect because husband is relocating. But how can we address it? How can leader can help be a crucial part there, and give that flexibility and give that comfort, that support to that particular employee, so that they don't tend to that thought of leaving the organization because of these small reasons. So these are a few things which we are doing, which is helping us to retain people who are going for a maternity or maybe having other reason to get the jobs.
Very
Be
interesting.
nice.
Very interesting.
If I might add just one more thing, right? I would be remiss if I were to not mention, some of it is obviously with our employees and the people we hire. But City, for example, and I'm sure HP equally is doing that, is a lot of work in our CSR space, where we are actually reaching out, outside of people that we would otherwise ever hire, right, to make a difference. And so we have this really nice program called Pathways to Progress, where we are working with girl children in remote villages, locations, through the right external partners. And I know Karthik, for example, has a really nice program around that Avtar does as well.
Project Putri, yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's right, Project Putri. So it is really essential for all of us to kind of come together and make a difference at that level, right, at primary education stages, well outside of the realm of people that we would go out and hire, for example. So we have a lot of work going on in that space as well, and City has committed a lot of effort and funds to those processes in order to be able to actually make that difference in the broader cultural and social landscape, if you will, in India.
Yeah, absolutely. I would also like, because Tuba has just raised this point. So this is very, very important. It's not about hiring only on, and it's about from the very beginning, how can we intervene and how can we help at the socio-economic level, So HP has this a bus called HP World, which goes to very, very remote of the places and help children to get that education. The digital equity is one of our focus area, and that is Apple. It is not confined to cities only, but it is very, very remote areas as well, where we invite a lot of girl child, irrespective girl or boy. So we go to a lot of schools and provide that laptops and giving them that digital equity access, so that they can be equally efficient tomorrow when they are moving toward their education or toward their career path.
That's interesting. I have written, multiple other questions also, but I think it is only 10 more minutes, 15 more minutes to wind up. But before that, Tuba, there are a few questions also in the chat window. I would like to ask both of you, if you could please share a quick success story, maybe like a story that re-entrant, a returnship woman sharing. Is there a story that you would like to share, Tuba, from City or from HP? a returning woman, how she succeeded in her career and created that impact. Anything, yeah.
Yeah, we actually have lots of stories, Veena, so it'd be very hard for me to pick one. In fact, we
Pick one.
quite often, by the way, capture employee testimonials on this, and we put it up on our social media handles and things like that. So if anybody were to see Citi's social handle, you'll see some really beautiful videos of women talking about their experiences. So it is very inspiring, I think, to see one of those. What I will say, in fact, I'll probably share an example of somebody outside of India who went on to become our CEO of Hong Kong, is a senior lady called Angel. And Angel, in fact, was somebody who took a fairly long career break and joined Citi back into the workforce. And she was talking about how obviously, the social cultural norms, how do you deal with that, the challenges of coming back into the workplace, but actually then continued to stay at Citi, grow, and became the CEO of Citi Hong Kong. So, today she's in fact taken on another role and is now heading our entire, consumer banking presence for Asia Pacific. So lots of really nice live role models across levels that we have in Citi. Impossible for me to pick one to highlight to you, but yes, very, very hard because, each story is so unique, but there's lots out there on our social handles of this as well.
That is interesting too, but definitely, we should kind of connect again to understand the success stories from, the House of Citi. So, Rekha, I remember you reaching out to me and our Marcom head Rashmi, to understand how can we kind of, work with Avtar, to publish few of the testimonials, the success stories of, returnee women from HP. Would you like to talk about a couple of success stories, at least one, Rekha?
Definitely, Veena. So as it's very difficult to pick, because we have got a lot of testimonial about this returnee, because in women in tech, it's very difficult. When you have a gap, the technology is evolved every year, right? And it is very, very difficult for women to integrate back after 5 to 8 years. The technology is completely shift. It's a complete shift on the technology aspect. So they face a lot of difficulty, whenever they go for a normal hiring process. They've been asked various questions which they are not comfortable to answer. That ideally shouldn't be asked. So I'll just share one, where there was a lady who has to quit her very enriching career. I would say that she was at the architect level, which is considered to be very senior and very, very great level for a technical person. And she was working with Intel, and she has to take a break, and because of elderly care, and she took a break of 3 years. And when she, she shared very personally with me also in our social media sites while sharing her testimonial, that when she was appearing for the interview, she has been, doubted in multiple ways. She had been questioned that because she was not performing well, that's why she might be asked to leave. Or, there was various questions which were absolute doubt on her skills. And there were a lot of questions which were asked, which were not really, required to be asked. Like, do you have all the arrangement at the home now that you are ready to come back to work? What is the surety that you're not going to go back to take a break, because you're elderly, the people who you have taken break for is still there. So which was not required. So when she appeared for HP's interview, and she was very, very super happy to just have at technical architect level, she was shocked to see that we have just 30-minute interview and we have selected her. And she was shocked that how are you going to judge me? How am I going to perform at technical architect level, which is a very crucial level for HP, where technology is a very crucial thing, right? So we were very sure about it. And then when she came into the organization, the kind of support she got, and she was very, very mesmerized with that her skills were not at all doubted. In fact, she was asked that what is that she want to work on, what is that her potential area, what is that she enjoy working on. So she has narrated everything in her testimonial, which was very pleasing to read, and quite happy thing to talk about. So that was something, and she's doing fantastic. She's doing incredibly good, and she, in just 1 year, I guess, she has been awarded for some of the programs she has designed for HP, some of the crucial product, and that's how the story she has, and she's super happy and says that platform like this should be given to the people rather than judging them the gap and for the doubt, they create on the mind of the other side of the room.
Oh, amazing, amazing, Rekha and Tuba. So before, there are a few questions coming in the chat window. Before we get into that, I would like to talk about two of our flagship programs, Tuba and Rekha. So we hold this program called Segue Sessions. So Segue, as you know, it's the meaning is smooth transition from one to another. So when we started this in 2011, it was more like a B2C where women in a career break gets an opportunity to meet prospective employers and they hiring them. Now that every company, thanks to the efforts of, the Ceramond and Avtar, best companies for women in India study, our research shows that when we started the study in the year 2016, the percentage of returnship program at 100 best companies was around 30%. And the next year it moved to 41, the next year 51, 53, 65, and currently we are at 71%. So the intent is there completely. So what change in organizations like City and HP, is making, to welcome, more and more women to the workforce, because we are talking about a talent pool of close to 70 lakh. And thanks to the combined efforts of all the organizations, and I'm sure the momentum is building and already being built. And I'm sure, the day is going to be is super, kind of exciting, where more and more women from tier 2, tier 3 cities, from villages, will get an opportunity, a befitting opportunity to work in corporate companies like yours, Tuba and HP. Thank you so much. And we have few questions coming our way. So Rashmi has this question both to Tuba and Rekha. Anyone of you can reply. So she has written, yes, indeed, it's a great discussion, of course. Would like to know what is the long-term vision of your respective organization with regard to a returnship program. So how would you like to envisage it, and what is the long-term plans you have? Anyone of you can answer, Tuba or Rekha.
Okay, I think I'll give a short answer to that one. The long-term vision and where we feel we will be happiest is that there needs to be no concept or discussion of returning or second career. Anybody who wants to just come and join without too much of consideration on a career break should be able to get back into the mainstream quite simply and easily. So this separate program, separate need, I think is a journey, but ideally where you want to be is firstly a very equal workforce between men and women, both men and women having the ability to take career breaks and come back into the world of work quite seamlessly. So that's really our, where we would be happiest to be at.
A complete alignment, right, Tuba? Wonderful thought. One more question coming our way. So this is from Mani Sheshan. What will be your 2 or 3 must-to-do steps that an organization should take in making the returnship program for manufacturing operations and sales sustainable and successful? I think, Mani, you represent a manufacturing company. Very, interesting question, because, the industry, the technology industry is different, the manufacturing industry is different. So any thoughts, Tuba and Rekha? His question is, what will be your 2 or 3, steps, recommendations to make, the returnship program more sustainable at manufacturing companies? Yeah. Anyone of you.
So I guess one of the crucial point which before onset of the program, that it's not again for just bringing, because we want to do this program and we are doing it. That shouldn't be a thought. The thought should be again, how can we make it successful? So for that, I guess identifying the role is very, very crucial. That what kind of job they will be fitting for and what will be the right fitment for them. That is one thing. And the other thing is that sensitization is very, very important. If you bring the people and then don't feel that support, that psychological safety, when they've been judged for various gap or various reason, then they would not be comfortable. They will not be able to sustain or survive or grow in that. So that inclusive environment, that culture of acceptance and belonging is very, very important, I guess. And the third thing which I can say here is and giving them equal opportunity, not differentiating them with the other workforce, but having an approach of equity. You just can't bring them and place them in a place where they think that they are not valued. So they should be equally valued what their skills and the work they're going to do for the organization. So these are few things, and Tuba can add on to that.
Mani, adding to what Rekha spoke about, Avtar is working with manufacturing companies and automobile companies in helping them hire women. So one point I would like to emphasize is, you have to identify those roles, those job descriptions before taking a call, whether you will get a second career woman. Is it difficult? Is it very tough? Is it easily available? Only then, you should get into, yes, it's available in the market. You should do a thorough market intelligence. Only then you should embark upon, hiring women in a career break. So that is one, thing that we have observed over our experience working with, companies across industries. So, and Janani has another question that I'm unable to see that question. Give me a minute. Do you think that there will be a time that the second career program, will not be there, everything will be aligned together and everyone will be welcome to the workforce? That I think that's the question, but I'm unable to see that question. Is there an answer, Tuba and Rekha? Because everyone is talking about returnship program, every other company has that. So there should be that innovation or that differentiator, a USP, a beautiful USP that will attract. So anything you would like to add?
Yeah, that in fact is really our vision, right? Yeah. To the first question that we were asked. So ideally, yes, you should not need it. And once somebody comes on board, in any case, you should have development and opportunities, integration opportunities, customized and suited to the individual. So yes, our hope and wish and, intent towards the work that we're doing is to say, career breaks should really not be such a big deal as they are today. The reality is they are a big deal. And so you need to do all of this effort, but it really should not be such a big deal. And I would say very strongly both for men and women. Citi is in fact also experimenting on gender agnostic, career break programs, by the way. So in a couple of small pockets, in one program in Pune and one returnship program in Chennai, those two programs for us are gender agnostic. In fact, Avtar is helping us to try and hire potentially, a male with a career break as well. So the idea is do away with this taboo around career breaks, regardless of whether they are for men or women.
Super.
Absolutely. I can also add, So it's a program because that there is a mindset, there is a hindrance. It is considered as one of the hindrance, and it has a lot of thoughts around it. Definitely, it shouldn't be considered as a handicap or as a hindrance for a woman. And if somebody is coming as a talent, it should be acceptable, irrespective of what background, what break it is. If it is fitting to your talent should only be the criteria for hiring for any organization. I guess when the day will reach, I guess we don't need such programs to be addressed and talk about.
Super. So Mani has written that Mani is in touch with Uma Shankar, and Uma Shankar sir is our go-to person when it comes to recruitment, a very seasoned recruiter, very passionate recruiter. So please do reach out. I mean, both Tuba and, not only from the, recruitment angle, anything related to talent management interventions, very happy to support. So before we end the session, before I hand over to, Atira, I would like to quote this beautiful tagline from, the Intentional Career Pathing workshop that we always speak about before we end the session. You are the hero or the heroine of your own story. So it's in your hand to make that, dream make big. So dream big. I'm sure, you can create that difference and be a role model for the people around you. So with that, we are coming to an end to that enriching conversation today evening with Tuba, who is the Senior Vice President, Head Learning, Performance Management, Diversity and Inclusion Citi South Asia, and Rekha Manola, Talent Acquisition Lead, Asia Pacific and Japan, Diversity and Inclusion for HP Inc. So that's about it. Thank you so much for joining.
Before we end, Ms. Veena, we have one more question from Jatin.
There is a question.
Sure. Yes. Are there any best practices or any solutions you have for helping organizations in identifying best roles for second career diversity hiring?
That's from Jatin, is it?
Atira? Yes, it's from Jatin.
Thank you, Atira. Yes.
I'd probably request Rekha to share her view on that, because Citi actually, incidentally, we don't do a role-based approach. We actually have every role in Citi which is open to second career hires. So we don't take a role-led approach, but I think Rekha does have a nice thought process around that. So maybe we'll get her view there.
Because in technical, when you're doing some technical hiring, right? Like for example, we have done this reboot for R&D, so we can't go by every role. There are a lot of criticality on the technical aspect of it. So it is very, very important for for us to understand what is the minimum that is required through which we can groom the person to the next level. Yeah. So depending upon what role or which area you are trying to address, because as I said in the beginning that we have a good gender mix, but there are certain pockets where we face a lot of difficulties. There is a problem statement. So we want to address that. At the same time, we want to be, in helping the gender gap in the tech industry. So that's why it is important to identify so that tomorrow they don't struggle to those roles. Once you hire, they don't struggle. And also, you should have internal, capability and the structure which can help them to learn or to upskill them to that level. Just identifying the role will not be suffice because they need to sustain. So for that structure model should be there, which can help them to groom themselves, to speed up themselves. So it is up to the organization, what role they want to fill, or they want to go for universal and open for all the role, or they want to go for a specific pocket to fill, through this talent pool.
Veena, you're on mute.
Add on, you have to identify, the organization, what roles. I mean, so that is the imperative of your company, your talent acquisition team to identify. And of course, partners like us, like Avtar, can help you understand what is the market intelligence around it. For example, if there is an XYZ role, a position for hypothetically a technical role, we will help you in identifying, is there a market, we will do a quick market intelligence. Are there enough, talent pool which will help you hire women a career break? So that's up to you, but definitely we can support you there, Jatin. So thank you so much once again, Tuba and, Rekha, for joining the conversation today. I have more questions, but I think, we have run out of time, and next time, there is always a next time. And thank you so much. And on to you, Atira, to close the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Veena. And thank you so much, Tuba, Rekha, dear panelists, for joining us today and giving us with this power-packed session. Thank you for this discussion with all the interesting case studies and anecdotes, data, most importantly for taking companies through all that needs to be done when it comes to being a truly gender inclusive company that supports second career women. So thanks to each one of you, the participants, for joining today's session and being a part of the journey we make to create inclusive workspaces. And Second Career Women Hiring Program is our flagship initiative. We encourage you all to make your registrations today and start your journey towards gender inclusion today. The link is posted for you in the chat box, so please access it from there. We at Avtar look forward to seeing more companies empowering and enabling a bigger pool of second career women in coming days through some transformational work in the space of inclusion. So hope to see you all there. And this is Adira signing off, and see you again with another session. Thank you and have a good evening.
Thank you
very much.
And thank you for having us.
Rekha. Thank you.
Same here, Tuba. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.